All right, let's see if this thing is streaming yet here. Looks like I'm getting commercials on the other computer to my left here. Where are you going? Oh, cool. No, leave. Save this because I'll use them for the calendar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's way better. They don't have to use up the things for the little robot. All right, this is all on the live stream. Sweet, talking about cat litter. All right, so I am back kind of earlier in the day than normal. Yesterday I was working on the C3PO shorts and got into a conversation about doing foam fabricated versions of the shorts. And I was like, you know what? I could probably bang out the patterns for those relatively quickly. So I'm going to use the model that I was working with yesterday, the C3PO shorts model, and I'm just going to simplify it down, low resolution version, and then probably just mirror it so that it's, equal, and then print that sucker out, print it out. I'm going to take it into a program I use called Pepicura Creator to make the patterns and print out a version, test them. If they work, then I'll put the patterns up on the Patreon page. So let's get started, shall we? I'm going to go to, make sure I got my ZBrush open here. I'm going to go to scene and move it over, and I already doubled these. These are the shorts I was working on yesterday. Now, these shorts are asymmetrical. So you can see they're real wonky and weird, which I personally like because they are scans off of actual screen use shorts. But for the foam ones, I think I'm just going to, because I'm simplifying them, I'm just going to mirror them. So I'm trying to figure out which side do I want to mirror. I kind of like that this side has the longer butt piece. It's kind of like a hit or miss of which side's which. I could split them down the middle this way, mirror the two versions that I like, and kind of do a hybrid of maybe this upper and then this back. Or I could just adjust them. It really doesn't matter because in the long run they're going to be close to the same. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mod this thing. We're going to T. I'm not going to go to T. We're going to go do not switch. W is what we want to go to. And we come down here and we go to these little gears. See, gear it. And we go to deformer. And this will give us a little control. Now, before I started the version that I'm doing, the corrected version, I did mirror the legs. The bottom of the legs, that's it, has been mirrored previously. The rest of the shorts are completely asymmetrical and normal, but I mirrored the bottom because on the actual parts that I was working off of, they are on a droid. So the bottom of the legs is actually inside the droid legs. So I got one as close as possible and mirrored it, and then I just merged it into the rest. But everything else is visible, so I just kept everything else as is. But the bottoms of the legs are equal. So we can take this guy here. We can turn up the kind of the resolution points, and we can make some broad adjustments on this. Basically, move some pieces around here as needed. He's really fighting. Usually, you see a, you know what? I see. I know what the problem is. Let's see. Look at that. That was very weird. I'm surprised I'm not getting more movement on the butt. So let's see if I do this. We've got a little bit there. I'm just going to straighten this out just a little bit for our model, and I'm going to lengthen this side. And I should do this. Oops. I should just do the back. I don't want to affect the front of these shorts at all. So I'm just going to squish them a tad bit here. Just a little bit. Let's look at it again. Don't want to affect this part so much. I'm just going to straighten that line out. Check them, make sure they're good. And take this guy. This will basically, oops, sorry, let me see here. It's telling me YouTube Premium. Straighten those lines out, just kind of average these things out a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, it's going to be better because I I think I'm going to keep this side of the shorts here. This side is going to get this. These wavy little lines here, they're fun for this more screen accurate, but for foam fab, the simpler side is going to be easier to recreate. So I think that's pretty good. Let me go down here. I'm going to copy this bottom here and just kind of bring it down to match this side. So I'm going to move these points a tad bit. Just going to drag that down just cheek on that side. And that'll get us started. So we will leave that as is, and then we're going to go down here. I'm going to copy these really quick just in case I screw something up so I can go back. And I'm going to go to which side are we doing again? Yeah, okay, so I'm going to do a mirror and weld, which will basically copy this side to this side as long as we are centered here. Let's see where oops, I'm going to commit to this thing. I'm going to bake it in. Deformer, and we'll say accept, and that'll basically bake in that change I just made. There's a little bit of wobbliness on this side, and now you can see how I have the red dot is on both sides. If I hit X, if I'm here, you see the red dot. If I go here, you see it's on both sides. That means it's mirrored. So, or everything I do will be mirrored, but because these are asymmetrical, it might get strange. So I'm going to go to geometry, modify topology. We're going to do a mirror and weld to just see how it looks. That's not bad. The actual center is pretty close here. So mirror and weld, boop, gets a little taller up here. And now the back is pretty uniform. A little tiny bit of a point here because this little bend is slightly off center on the real ones. So there's a mirrored and welded version. So what we're going to do is I'm going to Dynamesh it, lock it in, and all the details here, I'm not quite as concerned if they kind of get a little bit soft. It does not matter. So I'm going to take this resolution, which is very high, and we're going to turn that way down. I figured too on the foam fabricated version, these piping details are going to be kind of placed by hand, so I probably make this chunk that sticks out one piece, and then these guys here are just going to be foam strips that we'll just put in place, and I'll put some kind of markers to delineate where they actually go, and then they'll just kind of be added freehand. So, and maybe even the same with these guys. This thing here, this could be just like a 4mm foam piece, so I can continue this all the way up to these grooves, and then this will cover the seam between the sides here. I think that's how we're going to do this. That seems like a good idea to me. So, and again, I don't want to spend too long on this. It's pretty simple design, so I try to do this quickly. Z-remesher, I'm going to keep it on same. The other day I was doing this and it kept dropping the resolution, which usually when you have this same selected, it'll keep the resolution, the actual active points, almost identical, and then it just rearranges them for better topology. And what I do is then I go to half and I keep like paring it down until it starts to fall apart visually. I mean, so it doesn't really matter as much for this, but it did the same thing. See, it brought the resolution way down, still like plenty high enough. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm cleaning up this way, I can probably delete these. I don't think I'm going to need the openings anymore. So I'm going to do this. And we'll say modify topology, delete hidden. So now this resolution is quite low. And let's examine really quick. I'm going to go to crease, and we'll put, I'm going to uncrease all just to make sure nothing has a crease applied to it. Uncrease all, and then crease polygroups. And what this will do is if I do the Z-remesher again, it will preserve some of my details here. And I might break some of these components up into different polygroups just to keep the sharpness of the details. But you can see there's like a little bit of whirliness here. And this could be corrected. It's not going to matter on these guys so much. So we're going to go to BME, which is move elastic. And let's just look here. Could go softer. I don't want to affect too much. I'm going to go just kind of gentle here. Try to get these things sort of leveled out a little tiny bit. That's fine. Now, this one in the back, I want to bring this, oops, let me turn down the intensity, the Z intensity, turn that down and it'll act a little more gently, a little more forgiving as I move this. I'm just going to try to average it back out so it's a little closer to how it was before I mirrored it. Again, this detail, I'm assuming is going to be, like when I make this piece here will probably be a strip. Like this bottom piece all here is going to be probably one area of foam, and then this piece is probably just going to be a strip laid on its side that continues around, and then this piece up here will be glued onto it. That's how I would approach this. So I just need to keep these guys separate. So what I think I'm going to do is break these into different poly groups, which is BSL. Skip till next time. This will give us a lasso. Oops. Zip that out, like so. And you can see how the lines of the geometry already follow the curves better just since we remeshed it, which is nice. And it's perfectly mirrored, should be. So it makes it much easier to work on. Now, if I remember correctly, the software that I'm using, Pepicure Creator, if I make poly groups, I think that it separates the panels out, which is maybe good. I don't know. I might have to do a couple tests here to export to see if that's going to work the way I think. It might be easier to have them all together, because when you have them together, the panels in the pattern program are numbered on the side, so you can line the numbers up between the two panels. So I've got an A and B, and they have to go together in a very specific way. It might say part number, like tag number 47, and then 47 on this side, and you can mark them on your foam. So when you line them up, they line up properly, and you get the right kind of bends and so forth in your foam piece, which is real nice. It's very nice. So anyway, let's see. We'll do this. And this little return at the top, I think we're not even going to need that on the foam version, because the top of the foam will just have that there. Maybe we do a little return if you want it. I don't think it's going to need it. On the real shorts, the actual top of them, where the top comes over the return at the edge on the top, is really, really shallow. So this might not be needed once it's foam. The thickness of the foam might be enough for that. Might be. And this could be one of these things too, where maybe the upper pieces of foam here are a different thickness of foam than the foam on the legs. So anyway, we're just gonna change the colors of these pieces as we go. And let's see, we'll break this guy out. Same thing here. This way, again, I can, as I turn the resolution lower and lower, I will hopefully keep a lot of these shapes where they're supposed to be, which will make our life easier when we go to foam fab this thing. Get the light on this correctly. It's pretty close. And if you tell it to keep the poly groups, it will generally try to keep the line. You know what? I'm going to change this color just in case, and then I'll come back here, ditch this, and It's this. Now, for now, this and this, we'll keep as one. Sorry, I hear cool jets flying over. My phone is going bananas. Hang on one second. What's happening here? Who was writing me now? Golly. Okay. Sorry. Oh my God. One second. All right. Hold on one second. I gotta respond to a thing briefly. Take just a moment. Let's see here. Got a thing to do on this weekend. I'm supposed to have a race, but I might actually have a gig, which is good because it's been a slow start to the year this year, which is why I've had so much time to be working in ZBrush for the first time in ages. But now I'm getting questions about work, so I'm sorry to put you guys on hold. I got to do this really quickly, and then let's see here. And almost done. I'm sure you can hear my phone going bananas. I can hear it in my ears right now. Sorry about that. All right, and yes. Okay, cool. That's that one for now. All right, so now we have our shorts broken up into a few pieces here. Let me break these guys off, which would be chedonk. Some little straggler, little geometries here. That's a piece. That's a piece. You can see we got some bits there that I need to break off. So let's do this. And how I'm hiding the polygroups is I'm hitting Control and Shift and then tapping on the on whichever color polygroup I want. And if I do it correctly, it'll leave me. If I do this, it'll select the one that I have. And if I have, let's say I have one selected and I want to invert my selection, I select one and then I hit Control Shift and drag outside the geometry and it'll flip my selection over. Very, very useful. But like for now, I actually want to, what I need to do is actually this little geometry that's here, not that one, the little green, step it. There we go, that one. Just flip that, and I'm going to add that to the blue piece. There we go. Now, I should maybe break these guys up. And in the end, what I'm going to do is simplify this down. So basically, each one of these little strips is going to be like this top face here is going to be the edge of the foam, and this front face will be the the foam sheet, the front of the foam sheet, and this will be the edge of the foam sheet that will be exposed at the top. So technically speaking, in the patterns, this bit won't be represented. It'll be like this piece, which I'll probably extend down, I don't know, a quarter an inch or half an inch, so it's behind this. So that's kind of how I'm going to deal with those bits. And same with this piece here. I think we're going to just use the edge of the foam to represent that. And then this chunk here, we got to figure out the best way, because like the top piece of the foam as it goes around, I think this is going to be, this thickness of foam just flipped on its side. So this outer edge that we see here is actually going to be the edge of the foam. And then this strip will just kind of like lay along the pattern for our lower shorts, and then a little divider, and then the upper shorts with its little front piece, and they'll all glue together. I think that's the way we're going to approach this thing. So let's split this guy up into some different pieces here. We'll just go do. And again, this is not an exact science. A lot of these things I figure out as I go. So, oops. And to do this selection thing, I'm using the lasso tool, which the selection lasso, which is under the brushes. And the shortcut for it that I use is, I'll show you right now, hold on. Hit B, that'll bring up your brushes, S, and then you'll see all these things, and then there's the lasso. So you can hit the keys, it's B, and then S selection, and then L. You see the little L right there? So if I hit R, you know, I, like the different letters, these will give me these different options. So it's BSL is the one that gets me this tool that I'm using right now. So you know that. All right, select that, and then I will come here and I'll, oops, did it again. And to remove, to make the red selection, which hides a portion of it, I'm holding down Control, Shift, and Alt at the same time. That will hide a portion as I go. I think this is, let me see this last piece. There's a little chunky here that I want to add to that other bit. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes I get a little caught up in a little OCD when I don't really have to. And especially for a foam fab thing, it's very forgiving. So if this little guy is not like, I don't have every pixel right, it's not gonna change much. Okay, we got this thing, blink, all right, got this. And now this blue and this blue are different, so I know they both look blue, but it'll only really select, you know, whichever one. And then this guy will be, and I guess for the sake of the patterns, I might separate the upper angle and the lower angle of each of these little ribbities here, just so that as I lower the geometry, they stay nice and sharp, which will make it easier, because the flow of the polygons is really important to the patterning program. If the polygons flow smoothly, then the patterns will come out more cleanly. And when you're making patterns with this program, a thing that's really important are if you've worked with foam before, the program is made to make patterns for paper. And so if you've worked with foam before, there are some areas that you can cheat. So when I make the patterns, I'm going to adjust where the splits are and so forth. And then even after that, I may put notes that like this slice doesn't matter, because with foam you could stretch it and bend it differently than you can with paper. So Protocol Cosplayer, these are foam shorts, template making. Yes, these are for the foam shorts. You got me jazzed up. I feel like I could sort of knock these out relatively quickly, so I'm trying to just get them going here, so that as I'm home right now in the middle of the day, I was like, you know what, I was working on the other shorts a little bit more, but I really was like, you know, I should just could probably bang out a foam version pretty quick. What would be cool is if I get the foam ones, a couple things that I would like to do are a foam version of the RA7 torso, which again would work really great in foam, because I can't, for specific reasons, post actual 3D files of it. But if you want a foam fab one, I'll be glad to help out with that. Maybe even a head, maybe even a foam fabricated head. That would be kind of cool. And I think that it could work as a foam fab head for sure, especially if I mirrored it. But let's do like CZ3 torso, RA7 torso, like a generic protocol legs that you could add the piping detail to. Maybe I'll do like patterns for the piping details for 3PO, CZ3, etc. And just have different versions of those if somebody wants to do it this way. I just think it's a very comfortable way to do these, and I really feel like I want to do a couple of mine sort of like this. I would like to do my parts of my forelom like this, because again, if they're painted and if I get a pretty good leg model that looks accurate, I mean, it'll be accurate to scale, everything will be accurate. It might even be like a hybrid where there's some 3D printed components on a foam fabricated leg. It'd be very comfortable. And then still have maybe like my fiberglass torso and printed arms or whatever, printed head, but the bottom is comfortable to walk around in. That makes a huge difference. Let's see here. All right. Got some little funky little lines here. See this? That's weird. All right. Okay. So on this, when you get some like little stragglers, what I do is go down to polygroups, and then you go auto groups, and it'll break them into different ones. We're gonna hide this one, and then I'm gonna hit Control W, which will make all of these random ones the same color. Since I got to go back and forth. Phone's going off again. Okay. 19 messages. Oh my god. Oh wow. My friend got some stuff from the props auction. It's pretty cool. All right. There we go. Try not to get distracted by that phone. By that death box. Let's see. So, these are pretty good. Now, I think I'm going to tie in this piping detail all the way around the top of this piece into this piece. I think is going to be this light blue all the way around like that. I think might be suited to be one chunk. I don't know. So let us remove this stuff. A little bit too much. Go up here under the shadow and zing it away here. Pa-dow! All right, so that's cool. And then I'm gonna take this chunk like that. Cool. And turn this into a different color. There we go. So yeah, we'll figure this out, because if this piece, if I do a return, like let's say this is one piece of foam and then this return is another piece, I could essentially, as this piece comes over the top right here, I can lay it over flat, and that could become the piping detail around here. So it's interesting. And the thing is, the way this patterning program works, it'll give me like really accurate patterns to make this, but I'm going to have to make some manual adjustments to those patterns with some instructions on how certain pieces go together. Like again, this piece, this little top piece here, if this is going to be a separate item, I'll have to break it up a really specific way. And then this piece, it won't end here, it'll actually go underneath this piece, and this will sit on top of it. So I'm debating whether it's easier to break this up as is, or to actually physically separate these pieces into different templates and then do an assembly instruction. I don't know yet. I mean, it might take a try or two to get that to work right, but it's I think it'll be worth it in the long run. All right, let's see here. Go, come on. Switch this and this. Cool. Flippity dip it. I want to get this little chunk will be part of the other piece if I do this. So get that here. And it just becomes a matter of breaking these things up appropriately. And hide all this stuff. And now if I go to auto groups, anything that's touching when I do auto groups will become part of the group. So if there's any like little floaty things out in La La Land, sorry, jets. Cool jets fly over here sometimes. Like we get the stealth bomber flies over here, something. Typically I run outside and look. So this is generic enough. You know what? I'm going to break these little guys off too. They don't really need to be separated. I think I'm going to just leave these out of the template, and I'm going to make the template continuous, and then these little details are pretty easy just to add in and with some strips of foam. So I'm going to, did I get anything for the front there? Let's see. Make sure I get these as close as possible. Probably would not hurt to, let's see, probably wouldn't hurt to get this little internal thing out here. Oh, an afternoon stream, that's right. How thick of foam do you imagine the main body of the shorts would be? I would assume if it's too thick, it won't fit in the leg. Yeah, it'll probably be like, I don't know, like between 1/8 and 1/4 inch, pretty thin stuff, I think, for the lower part, and then maybe at the very top, there's like a thicker, the top piece right where it goes around your waist might be like a hair thicker. But I think the thin stuff would be fine. The stuff I bought to do the legs is pretty thin. If I have a chance, I can go grab a piece of it so you can see it. But I don't think it needs to be that thick at all. And another thing is that I don't know how they'll be on the foam ones. I'm going to make the foam shorts shaped as if they're the real shorts, but for my own copies, I'll probably end up cutting them very similar to how I do my vacuum form shorts. And I have a set of like a epoxy fiberglass shorts that are done off of my own sculpt, and I cut them up like so behind the front of the leg, where the leg kind of comes up to the front of the thigh. Let me see here. Sorry. There we go. Oh geez. For that part, I basically cut the front of the short up pretty high, so it's just less stuff that has to go down into the front of the leg. Makes walking easier, which I like. All right, there we go. I think that's good. Let me get a different color. I feel like this is hard to look at. Shock. That's terrible. Red Mac have white. Let's look at this one. It's a little brighter. All right. There we go. Different colors. Okay. So let me check. Make sure I got all my returns here decently. Yes, I think what I'm going to do is when I do the pattern, I'm going to take this chunk here and extend it out like that, and then this piece is going to be a separate piece. So in the pattern, this whole guy is going to be like simplified down. Yeah, should be good. Should be. But yeah, the foam here, pretty thin stuff. I want to say it's like maybe like 4 mil. It's like, I don't know. It's double as thick as craft foam probably. And if you coat it with rubber, it'll be really, really strong, and it should hold up just fine. And if you really want to, you could take you could do fabric, a little bit of fabric on the inside in critical areas, and then brush it in with that creature cast, and it'll basically bond. It'll be really, really sturdy. Yeah, I did. I just added the option on my Patreon for this kind of stuff here. So it should be set up to go. And I will have all these guys up there and, you know, hopefully testable. I'd like to make a set before I post them, but I may put them up as like, hey, these are in progress. If you want to take a stab at it, go for it. But I will be making a set here, and then I can go and, you know, critique everything, make it, you know, correct anything that's weird or give instructions on anything that might be confusing or anything. Let's see here. I'm going to smooth out this little butt crack. So, all right, so now that I got this broken up into pieces, what I'm going to do is go into our geometry. We're going to crease. I'm going to uncrease all again, like I did previously. Uncrease all, and then crease polygroups. And that should generally give me some shapes. This is a little funky here, but it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to double this one more time. I'm actually pretty happy with this shape. I think this is fine. So I'm going to duplicate that again, hide it, be working on this guy. I'm going to make a little folder here for these. This is the original one. New folder. Backup stuff. All right, so now that would go in here. I'll turn that off so I don't have to look at it. Plug that Patreon page. I'll join. Thank you very much. That would be freaking awesome. I'll be posting all kinds of stuff there too as I go. So it'll be good. Like I was saying before, I can't post some of the RA7 stuff, but I'll probably do my RA7 legs. I don't think there's a problem with that. And then I'll probably do foam versions of all the droid legs because I just think they're good. And again, like I've got a CZ3 costume upstairs that is like, looks awesome, but I'm like, I could foam fab almost the whole thing and it would look the same and nobody would know. It's super light, it'd be way easier. I could put it on by myself, which is one of the coolest things. So oh man, thank you very much. Let's see here. So I got some light coming in my window. I got a glare. The sun is now low enough that I'm getting glare on my screen. Hold on one second, I gotta shut this. I can't even see my monitor. Too much dust. 1 second. I'll be right back. Down now. Alright. Blinds are closed. Smells delicious in here. And I'm back. Alright, that's better. Okay, so where was I at? I came down here in the geometry. Geometry, crease. Uncrease all. Crease PG, which is crease polygroups. And then if I go to Z remesher, and we got to keep groups, and I'm going to do same again. See if we're at active points, we're total points, active points 193,000. Keep it the same and see what happens. Z remesher, and see if it straightens out some of these like jaggedy lines here, because it's going to try to keep the polygroups together and average them reasonably well. So if I did this right, if we turn on the wireframe here, we can see that it's trying to average out the polygons along the actual wireframes here. Yeah, I wonder if I should break these out completely, because if I take this bottom portion off and make this its own thing, now I'm going to keep them together for now. This is where these kind of things get a little confusing. We're trying to make something that's not going to print directly, but you're trying to make patterns and try to figure out the most effective way to do this. Do you think these would be slip-on shorts or two-piece? Any ideas for tailoring in case bigger or smaller legs? These will be slip-on. I would, for me personally, like the one-piece shorts, I just think are like look better than having that seam on the side. You could easily make them two-piece shorts if you want to. You just probably just cut down the side and oh, Jim Sleeth, how you doing, buddy? I will be in Japan I'm only going to be at Celebration on that Saturday. So, but I will be in Japan. So if you're there the whole weekend, I'll probably see you there. But where's that? So if you want to make these two-piece shorts, you could always cut them down the side and add like Velcro or something. And for tailoring them, essentially, what I've done in the past, like when I we've done costume parts that are foam. If you need them to be bigger, you can basically just take a razor and just cut it. And if it's something inside the leg, if you look at the C-3PO shorts from like the sequel shorts, they just have a big cut up the front like this so that they can flex open. So, I mean, if it's a hidden thing, you could just slice it and then stick your legs through. On my own copies, I will probably, like I mentioned previously, I'll probably just cut out the middle right here, just be completely cut through, all the way through the legs, through the crotch, everything. And you can't see it, but it makes it so that when the pants flex, the flex is better. Now, I would probably experiment first to see if I needed to do that, but that's one of my favorite ways to mod them. It's invisible from a camera or from a spectator, but it basically gives you a lot more mobility, which is really nice. Let's see here. So you can see I got these little blippity blaps here where the geometry is kind of tight, but that is a spot where there is a little bump or something in the geometry. Like over here, there's a lot of polygon still, but it's pretty smooth. Now, for the ease of doing this, I might actually break these guys off. You know what? I'm going to combine these parts in the back right here, because I think that, let me see, I'm going to combine these. Because if these get lost in here, even if I have like a little mark of where they're supposed to go, again, these can be like sort of free-handed on, or I could put measurements for them. But I think I'm just going to smooth these over, so when I do the pattern, they'll just be an easier pattern to do. I won't have weird like extra cut lines that you don't need. And I've copied this whole thing, so I may just actually pull the pieces out of the other shorts and I can stick them in the model, and I think it'll give you a pattern for these, or maybe like some spots where it's, you know, markers to show where it's at. Join the Patreon. These are looking awesome. Can't wait. Thank you very much. Again, I'll go through and try to figure out the foams and stuff to kind of get these things started, and it should be good. Let's see. So I'm going to go back to Z-remesher, and we're going to go to half, which is Monk. And I like doing it this way because it's kind of a gentle way to do it. You're not just like taking the resolution way down immediately. It's kind of, because you're doing it in steps, you can see if something's getting weird and correct it before it's like just too low. And I gotta see some of these little spots here that are a little strange. And when I go to make the patterns for these, the resolution is gonna be very, very, very low to get a good pattern out of this thing. So let's soften that up right there. There's a little funky spot. I also don't want to lose some of the return on the front here. Let me look at my shorts. I think that's still good. So we go back to the move elastic. We're going to just gently finesse some of these little warbles that are going on. And then there's some spots here where you can see there's some poly groups that are separated out. And I would like these to be connected to the same thing here. So, sorry. Stop it. There we go. And this one. Stop it. Stop it. There we go. And this one. And maybe this one. Let's look here. Let's see what that looks like. We'll make this one. I'm going to go back and redo the thing. Uncrease off. Crease. Uncrease all. Crease poly groups. Now that should join us. Let me look here, make sure I don't have any BME, which is move elastic. I'm going to average out some of these little guys here just to keep from having, I don't want to have too many weird spots when you're trying to cut these out. I don't want them to be like a big nightmare, you know. And again, like this kind of front edge of these things is going to be the you know, the face of the foam, and then the top edges will be the the top edges will be the edge of the foam. So I'm gonna probably go through and finesse and make them as smooth as possible. What I can do actually too is, oops, because every other one, come on, every other one is technically gonna be connected. I can, let me see, I can make these all one pattern piece here. Same with these guys here. These will count this color, whatever this is going to be. When I do this, this will be the edge of the foam, and this will be the front of the foam, the face. Okay, go. Oh, dang it. Let's do these. Make these all one. There we go. All right. Makes it a little easier to delineate what the heck we're looking at. The front ridges look like they'll need beveled cuts in the foam to get the angle. So that thing here, you could bevel it. The return on these is pretty. It's almost 90 degrees, like on my sculpted one here. If you look at it where the angle of the pieces come up and then return, it is almost 90 degrees off the surface. I'm going to make mine just a 90 degree cut. You could bevel it a little bit if you wanted to, but I think I'm going to do 90 degree cut, and then as I fill it, it'll kind of like soften the edge on the inside. I think it's going to look totally fine. Like, I don't think anybody's going to notice. And it's one of those, even it'll probably be really, really close in general, but again, I always say, this is an example I've said a lot of times, like most of the people that are building actual like droid builder guys and girls probably wouldn't be able to tell if you did it right. They wouldn't be able to tell what's right or wrong, even if they, they could look at it and be like, it's not it. But I kind of come down to the same thing of, I always use this as an example. Like, how many people that they know what a bicycle looks like, but then if you're like, hey, draw a bicycle, do they really know what a bicycle looks like? It's pretty rare. So if you came down to it and you had these on, and somebody would have to be like right up in them to see if an angle was a little different, and they wouldn't know off the top of their head if the reference is correct or not. And I want them to be as correct as possible personally. But if in the sense of fabricating, I can get like a nice consistent gap here with the foam, then I'm going to do that. And again, I feel like this chunk here would be the one piece that would just continue, and then these guys would be like stacked, tick, tick, tick. And I think that would look real good, especially if I get these like where the darts are in here. So, all right, I'm going to turn this down even more here. Let's see. Go half again. Z remesher and Z remesh in half. Aww. Look at that. It just made new groups. Did you see that? That was weird. Oh, you know why? That is so weird. Let me do this again. It might be because the poly groups I didn't uncrease them. Uncrease all. Uncrease all. Crease poly groups. All right. Let's try that again. And waiting. I did it again. That's so strange. Maybe because they're like kind of islands from each other. See this guy here. I'm going to do a pinch on this to kind of pull it back out a little bit. To make it level, because it's kind of like drifting inward a little bit. Sharpen it just a tad bit. Same here. Sharpen and kind of guide it back into the position we want. And same with this one back here. Let's see. Will this work? I'm going to push this one back just a little bit. Oh. And this is the thing too with what's cool with ZBrush is if you use the Fusion 360, when you export, if you're doing a model like this and you want to bring it into the pattern program, Pepakura Creator, when you export, you want to turn down the resolution really, really, really low so that you have as few facets as possible. See, I'm trying to keep these guys together. Let me turn this smaller. I'm going to keep them as close as possible. Now, if I do this right, I don't know if I will, but if I do this right, even though this geometry is looking janky, once I do a remesh on it, it should level back out pretty nicely. It should, in theory. But ZBrush does its own thing sometimes. Like you saw earlier when I did the remesh and I said keep seeing poly count, and it just went down by like 80% less for some reason. It never does that. I don't know what the deal is. It was doing that the other night. I don't know. I've never seen that happen. So that was great. All right, so on average, there's a little funky thing here. Is this something I did before? Oh yeah, this is where I was touching on it. Let's see here. Without anything, see the resolution is pretty low. Now the question is, do I break these guys off? It's a separate piece. If I leave them here, it'll make a mark, and then I just have to delineate, because this little tiny return here, the pattern program is going to try to make this. But what I will probably do is like cut the pattern for these, and then take this chunk and delete the faces on the side and connect it here, and then just run that all the way up to these pieces, and then double this. I don't know if that makes sense, but it'll be awesome. Single seam for the main body to lay it flat. Don't exactly know. It'd probably be multiple pieces. Like it's probably going to be some panels. So there'll be, like, at a guess, it's going to be like some kind of side panel here. Like it'll probably have like some kind of seam here and here, and then depending on how the butt is shaped, it's going to have to be a couple pieces. This piece here could probably be cut out of one piece with like, might be two pieces, or might be a seam here to get that little bit of a flip up in the back. Let me see. Actually, I'm looking at my other shorts, and I think that this chunk could probably be one piece, and these guys, it depends on how I break it up. So to get that flare to flare out like this, it needs to be like, if you bring two pieces together, you kind of want it wider at one side, but you can also dart it at the bottom and pull it in to get it to like flare and curve at the same time. I have to look and see. As I get into the patterning program, I'll probably figure that out. There'll probably be at least a few panels to get the shapes all dialed in. And especially like this crotch area, there's gonna be like probably like one, two, and there's like there's some subtle curves to the surface, and those little things, depending on how much of those you want to keep, will be not necessarily multiple pieces, but it'll be, you know, splits, so that when you form it together, it kind of contours better. Let's see here. We'll just keep going down with the patterning stuff here. Okay. I'm going to go back to ZRemesher. We're going to go half again. So you can see this resolution is going to get lower and lower, and until it's very, very simplified. Every time I do it, I just want to run over and make sure that the shapes are generally where I want them to be. I'm probably going to just iron these out right now so that they're flat. And like you can see here, we're starting to lose the edge of this, which is totally fine, because we know this is going to be, I can take a measurement and just say, okay, this is going to be, you know, 1/4 of an inch thick, and you're just going to glue that piece right on the foam. Also, we don't need the buttons on the side, because those are going to be, you can fabricate those or even use printed ones. And let's do it again, half it again, see what happens. Ooh, that's getting questionable. So now it's hitting the point where the general detail is actually still kind of there. We're still getting our returns. The general shapes are still there. This is like probably a pretty good base to work with the foam. Down here, I'll go to Z Modeler, and I'm actually going to like just eliminate some of these because we don't need so many edge pieces here. Actually, it wants to keep that last one for some reason. So any of these guys I can turn down. I'm going to, but I'm going to try to. I think everything else is going to be pretty much manual at this point. It's funny because like this return here is, look at it, it's like merged this shape into that other shape. Might be fine. I still have my reference piece there, so I can kind of like maneuver these pieces around as needed. So we'll be okay. And like these guys, the more simple I make this, the easier it's going to be to make the patterns. I can remove almost every other one of these. And that's one of the great things about the foam is it's really a forgiving material to work with. So if something's not right, it's not terribly difficult to add the darts and stuff. I'm going to leave that center line there. Another thing is when I do this, I'm going to cut the pattern. I'm just going to make half of it. And then you're just going to make half and make the other half, and then they'll seam together. And just as an experiment, we could, let me turn these down in the back by about half. Again, doing this manually so I can kind of see if I do a global reduction in geometry, we're going to start like this, how this thing kind of like lost that detail. Again, okay, because the plan is to make that a separate little piece. This guy here, if I went too far, it could be difficult. Like I don't want to lose this shape here. What I'll do is I'm going to bring back the unsimplified version and just compare it. Basically, I can push and pull this piece to line up. I got something funky right here. See that? When did I do that? Let's go back. If I can go back far enough here. Let's see. Do I have enough undos? There it is. That's where I lost it. So yeah. So anyway, autosave. Any ideas how to blend fabric and foam together using something other than creature cast? Might be a bit of my ability to get out of my ability to get a hold of. Creature cast is, you can. I always order it. I've got a couple gallons of it here, but you can use latex. So like if you use like mask latex, you could get a big jug of it for like $100, or like way too much of it for $100. Or you could get like a gallon for probably like $25 maybe. That would work just fine. And I actually use the creature cast in place of latex, but latex would probably work fine. And it's pretty cheap. I'm trying to think what else you could use. Now, creature cast is it's neoprene. And there are some materials you can get from like, oops, I should have been paying attention. It's fine. There's some materials you can get from like Home Depot that are for doing roofing. And it's like liquid neoprene that they use for roofing material. And it is very similar to creature cast. And you can get like a big jug of it. Price is almost the same, so you're not really like saving a ton of money to buy one or the other, but it is an option if you can't get creature cast. Again, I don't think there's a place locally that I could buy it. Maybe like Motion Picture Effects here might have it, but don't know for sure. But I'm trying to remember the name of the place. If you just look up creature cast neoprene, you should be able to find the stuff. Again, you don't need that, but it works great as a coating. Let's see here. This is not done, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this out, and we're going to take a look at it because I got to go eat something really soon, and I'm probably going to come back like later tonight and work on this a little more. Let's go to let's just export this. Bunch of random crazy stuff in here. Droid shorts, foam pattern test. All right, OBJ. I think that'll be good. Now let me get Pepicura Creator open, and we can look at it in there and see. This is not going to be the final version, but it'll give you something so you can see kind of how this goes together. Pepicura Creator, where are you? There it is. Pepicura Designer. Pepicura Creator is the free version. I have Pepicura Designer because I'm fancy. So get this opened up in here. File, open. Sorry, I'm checking this thing out. Droid shorts, foam pattern test. All right, loading this into Pepicura Designer. Oh yeah, let me switch back over so you guys can see what the heck is going on. Scene. All right. Too many faces. So we say okay. So the thing is, I'll simplify this more. No flip. That's correct. Finish. And the height, I never mess with this. If I've done it correctly in ZBrush, that'll be right. So these are the overall dimensions here. And this is the very rough version. And typically what I'll do is you go unfold, and it's going to make a million pieces. Like every place where there's a red line, it's going to freak out and make like tons of pieces. So I have to see all this craziness. So what I have to do is go in here, and there's options to join edges, and basically you can join edges on the geometry in certain ways, and split edges and simplify so that the tolerances are not as much, which is a whole thing. So I'll probably come back later. I'm going to work on simplifying these a little more, make sure that they line up, and then we'll come back in here and I'll show how I break these pieces up, because all of these are going to be combined into as few pieces as necessary to cut these up. And this is one of those things where having some foam fabricating experience is helpful when you're doing the patterns, because you'll know where you can make an exception, or sometimes there'll be like just the way it slices the pieces, there'll be overlap, which won't matter if you're using foam, but it would matter if you're using paper. And there's other times when there's like a gap that like when you cut it all out, you could just tape that together and the foam will stretch enough to accommodate that. So just knowing where to do that. So as I go through this, I'll break that all up and try to make foam patterns. But you can see right now there are like 900 pieces, and all the ones with red edges are like it's a broken edge, but there's a way to tell it to combine those. It's a whole thing. But I'm going to call it for now. Been on here for an hour or something, and I will be back maybe later tonight. We're going to finish watching The Brutalist, which we started on Friday, and I think I told you guys our movie it's just stopped halfway through. There is an intermission on that movie, but we did not make it to the intermission. It was like prior to the intermission, mid-sentence, this movie just stopped, and the lights came on. Nobody knew what was going on, and the movie is broken, and they basically gave us a pass to come back. So we're going to go see that tonight. Those ridges in the front look like they'll need to be bevel cuts. Single seam. Sorry, I'm catching up on these things here. Any ideas on how to blend a fabric? No. Later, Gator. All right. Thank you very much for stopping by, and thanks for joining the Patreon. That's freaking cool, man. And I'm very excited about that. The more people, the easier it is for me to justify sitting here at my computer and making these kind of things. So thank you very much. It was awesome. But all right, let's go back to me. Hi. All right, and we are stopping the stream. Thanks again. I will see you kids soon, maybe tonight. All right, later, guys.